The Women of Troy by Pat Barker. Interesting book. Obviously, it's the women of Troy after the fall of Troy. I thought this would be during the fall of Troy for the most part, or like during the war, towards the last like year, almost like Troilus and Cressida by Chaucer is. But no, it's actually what the aftermath when all of the women were, given to all of the kings and really interesting. I liked how it happened. I liked how it showed that the women were essentially responsible for getting Priam to be, um, properly memorialized, get his funeral. Uh, I definitely liked how it started with the idea of the horse and everything that happened with the horse going into Troy, and that Priam died by being killed by Achilles' son in a cowardly manner, and that was literally the whole problem. Which that's what happened, but just seeing it and like the women being in there, knowing that that's what happened, is absolutely hilarious. Now, one thing I did not like about this book is that it's got multiple point of views. And I don't mean that by it switches point of view from chapter to chapter. I mean literally it goes from first person to third person omniscient in multiple areas. And I don't like that. The third person omniscient stuff is fine. It talks about what the men are doing. It's not as much, but the first person stuff in it, the narrator says and now I'm going to break my own rules. So far in telling the story of my youth, I've tried to make no reference to facts I only learnt later, sometimes, as with the fate of Odysseus and his ships, many years later, but I think I'm justified in making an exception of Hecuba. After all, if the mist hadn't closed in again, I might as well have seen what happened next. Which she sees what happens next to Hecuba, which is, yeah, you all know the story. And that's that's something that would make more sense if there hadn't been third person omniscient narration in the book. It works. It's just weird. It's just absolutely weird because there are facts that she only learned later, prior to that, which is the things that the men are doing when she's not there, or what I think in one there's Cassandra in one chapter. It's what Cassandra's doing when she's not there, and it just bugs me that you wouldn't just it would have made more sense from a narrative standpoint to do this entirely in third person omniscient. But I understand like things change. If you know the most famous example of that is Harry Potter, that goes from third person omniscient to third person limited after the first chapter of, and then it switches back and forth. Like chapter one of the Sorcerer's Stone is, but I think chapter one of Goblet of Fire is technically third person omniscient. It's weird.